two. Coming off the top, y'all know how we do. Listen, I'ma drop a freestyle you can cherish. I'ma send a shout out to the host named Eric. Yo, he's never on some average shit. You know Eric, he stays loud and passionate. I'm about to break it down for y'all with the clever song. Yo, shout the host named Thomas, cause he's never wrong. Yo, shout to John, you know that he's smart and quiet, unlike my freestyles, which cause a riot. I'm about to do it like this, cause the people love me. Shouts out to PHP, the ugly. It's called ugly, cause it's not professional, but I'm about to come through and bless it with style. So let's do it when I'm spitting, I perfume the room. Yo, the segment of the show is called Doom and Gloom. That came from Thomas. Yeah, can nobody go beyond this? I get the mic and then I'm about to keep it like a promise. Yeah, and y'all know we fill them up with anguish. We talking about the PHP, the programming language. About to break it down, no exaggeration. What do y'all do for a living? Web applications. Okay, I can dig it. My words spray tight. They getting together on the Thursday nights. Yeah, when it comes to rhyming, you can call me the new dude. I spew true lyrics while y'all broadcast on YouTube. So let's get it. You know my lyrics are major. All up in the comments, they got plenty of haters, but they doing what they doing. Keep it ugly. We ending every show with the saying it's lovely. Let's go. Hey, shout out to y'all. Peace to the whole squad, man. Hope your channel is doing real well on YouTube. Hope you guys are having fun. And it was an honor and blessing to do this little custom freestyle for y'all. Hope you enjoy. Stay up. Yeah. Come on. Hey.
It's December 15th, 2022, and you're listening to episode 315 of the PHP Ugly Podcast. We are three professional PHP developers who make a living coding in the PHP language every day. And from our GitHub to our latest PR, we talk about PHP, coding, tech, and anything else that happens to come to our mind. We live stream every Thursday around 9 o'clock p.m. Pacific time. And you too can participate in that live stream in our Discord channel at discord.phpugly.com. And I feel like I have other things to say. This episode is sponsored. We got a couple sponsors this episode, honeybadger.io and Cloudways. And as always, we'd like to thank our Patreon supporters. But for now, let me introduce the rest of the crew. John Congdon.
I love the hat.
And Tom Right Up.
Yeah, I'm sad that you can only wear that hat at home because it counts as sexual harassment in an office.
You like my hat? This is only one of two. I have another one. I have another one for next week. So, wife came through for me with Christmas hats. Really happy about that. So, how has everybody's week been? Tom, let's start with you. Before we start with you, Tom, I want to let you know how much you're absolutely loved and admired from our listening audience, because I have to say, no fewer than probably 10 times, including one of the time being my very own wife, sent me a link to a lady ranting about the Panera lemonade charge. And I even told my wife, so I asked my wife, I'm like, hey, did you listen to that? And she's like, no, I didn't listen to it. I just saw the article and I remember Tom talking about it. And I'm like, I didn't listen to it either. Like, I think somebody had posted in Discord the very next day, and I just saw it. I'm like, okay, they're just validating Tom's story, which is, always fact-checking Tom is never a bad thing.
It always feels unusual when people are like, oh no, Tom is right, actually.
But I listened to it. Now, I assume, do you know the TikTok I'm talking about?
So the one you're talking about is actually a new one.
Okay.
This is from the Daily Dot from this week. This is not the old one I was referencing.
Have you watched it? Have you listened to it?
I have not. Although
I'll tell you the same thing I told my wife, because I didn't listen to it. because I just figured it was going to be a person like yourself just ranting about this drink. I listened to it finally yesterday, and oh my God, does it pay off for itself? It is so funny. I'll find the link and I'll make sure it's in the show notes for anybody who might have missed it. But don't just read the article. Yes, Tom has been validated. He's not making it up. He probably should have gone this route and made his own TikTok, and you would have already been raking in the money.
I'm going the legal
Eric,
route.
go and turn Tom up on OBS.
Okay.
So yeah, I've received this article a couple hundred times this week. I was told by my friend who listens to the podcast that I might have come off as a bit of a well, in his words, whiny bitch. Versus
that's accurate. Yeah,
that's accurate. The actual what I was trying to explain was that what is being done is criminally negligent, not just me whining, and that the reality is completely insane. So I might not have represented myself well last week. However, thank you everyone for your support in sending me the exact same article hundreds of times.
Do you feel vindicated? Like,
I'll feel vindicated when they pay for my hospital bills.
Good luck
Seriously.
with that.
So,
okay,
yeah,
so I cut you off. How has your week been since then, Tom?
Nuts. No one told me managing was difficult. I always looked at managers and was like, I can do that. That's easy. Turns out that when you get down to crunch time, making sure that everyone is in order, working together, getting things done, and trying to be the sort of facilitator for a group of people is hard. So that's been most of my week. I've probably put out about 50 lines of code total, but I have had a higher word per minute in Slack than I've ever had in my life.
So you've been the distraction in the team. I got it.
True
management. Good job.
That's it.
I don't know. I might be. I've been trying to, we've got lots of meetings that are like, when are we doing this? How is this working? Keeping people up to date. I've been trying to make sure that people who want to keep their head down programming are not in on those meetings and getting distracted by them. I'm trying to be the facilitator. But this is a new role for me. And it's been very interesting.
You come home and practice. Like, do you just start yelling at your kids to get things done in a timely manner and report back? And
no,
that helps. You got to keep practicing. You got to practice.
Yeah, so I do that after the podcast. I have a couple beers on the podcast, and then call all my kids upstairs and start telling them the chores that they've skipped throughout the week and how disappointed I am.
Gotta get a whiteboard for that.
Keeps me fresh.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're supposed to be the facilitator to help get it done, not just yell at them.
Well, I mean, in the case of my kids, it's just reminding them that they should have done it is the facilitation, because it's the trash cans. I can't take the trash out from under the sink for them and leave a pile, because now there's a pile of trash. No, it's been tried. I've had a pile of trash in the living room for the kid who is supposed to take the trash out, and just checked how long I could leave it there with no one saying anything. And the answer is until I get way too angry about it. So.
Oh, all right, John, how about you?
Oh, where do you start? Getting over COVID. That's not fun. Ended up having that last weekend.
We didn't even talk about that.
Because so last week on the show, it was like things just started, right? And I felt terrible. And then over the weekend, it just kicked my butt where I had a 103 fever. I stayed in bed most of the weekend, but got over it pretty quick. Now I'm just trying to get the little bit of congestion out of the chest. Outside of that, magazine finally out for December. That was a huge win today. Speakers chosen for tech, another huge win for this week. It's just been a good week that way. Like trying to mark things off my list, get things done. We're getting there.
Cool, man. Cool.
How
Excellent.
about your week?
Okay, I guess pretty good. Felt good wrapping up last week with the team, getting some load testing done on some code I'd worked. This week, matter of fact, today, and this is like stuff I can't take credit for. It's really the team that's doing it. They started rolling out PHP 8.1. So with the client that I work on, which is one of our larger clients, started rolling out Laravel PHP 8.1 on the main application. I mean, the big application there. We have it on a few, like the Greenfield app I'm working on already had 8.0. So yeah, that was real nice. So yeah, I mean, that's been going good.
Did it get released without a hitch, or have there been any known issues?
I didn't see a lot of screaming, so I think it's good.
I like no screaming.
So I got a question for you guys. All right, I'm going to dive into this question here. What time do you guys get to the office and start working?
8 a.m.
Not a trick question, so don't think too hard about it, Tom.
Well, that depends entirely on my answer. 9.
Okay, 9.
8:30 to 9. But a lot of my company is on the West Coast.
I don't need a lot of explanation for it, Tom. It's a very simple question. So we'll say you're 9 o'clock, John. We'll say you're 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock, completely reasonable. 9 o'clock, I would think that would kind of be on the later side that you would start working would be 9 o'clock, right? So let's say you work at 9 o'clock, but you don't work at home. You'd probably have to be ready and out the door. Chances are like no later than 8:30, depending on how far your job is. Does all this sound reasonable?
Yeah,
No,
why
that's
would
reasonable.
All right,
Well,
so my previous dog, who I loved very much, Yaz, the office manager, we had a routine, and I would start work around 7:30 or 8 o'clock in the morning, and that meant I would take Yaz to the dog park around 6:30. The dog park was really close to my house, so it wasn't that long of a drive to get there and get home. That seemed like a very reasonable time to do things. Since moving into this new area that I'm at, that particular dog park is no longer convenient for me, and I had to find another dog park because we got another dog. And I'm thinking, all right, kind of get into the same routine. I'll get up at like 5:30, get out the door by 6, get to the dog park, and get back. I cannot find a dog park anywhere in my area that opens up, that literally unlocks their gate before 8 o'clock in the morning.
What?
And that was my argument. So it's a good thing, bad thing. I'll get to the good thing here in a moment. But my argument was, who has that sort of time in the morning to take their dog to the park and still get to work at a reasonable time? It's so frustrating to me. Like at the latest, the dog park should open at 7, I think. 6, I felt like was a good time, but I understand that is pretty early for a dog park. So 7 seemed more reasonable for people who had to be at work by like 8 or 9. So I said there was a good side effect to this. As a side effect to this, so that doesn't stop me. So now I've gotten into this routine where I actually don't start the day until 9:30, 10 o'clock, sometimes even push it a little after 10. One of the true benefits of being the owner of the company is you can do that. One of the really cool side effects, not that anybody cares about this, but it's let you all know it's not all bad, is my wife, who works at night, would get off in the morning. She now can go to the dog park with us. So my wife and I are like spending this little morning period together. It's not as nice as I'd like. Like we used to have these little mornings where we'd go have breakfast and stuff. We can't do that with the dog, but we've gotten into this routine now where the wife comes with me to the dog park, do that. We'll go grab a coffee on the way home and get home. So it does have a nice side effect for me personally. I just happen to benefit from it. But in general, what a horrible, horrible thing to do to these people in this area. And this is not like I guess it's, I mean, maybe a little higher than middle class area, like these neighborhoods that these dog parks in. But I don't know, man. It just seems unreasonable to expect people to take their dogs to the dog park that late and still get to work at a regular time. That's my rant for the day. Yes, last week was Tom and caffeinated lemonade. Today it's me and late start dog parks.
So they actually have locks on your dog parks?
Yeah, all of them out here do. Like if it rains, they won't even open them. Like if it's raining outside, they'll just keep them locked so that you can't go there. It's pretty frustrating, especially like I don't know. I was just talking to Beck about this, Beck being my wife, that perhaps I'm still not familiar enough with this new area, but you know me, John. I'm a big community guy, right? I love community. In the real world, community are public parks. And I just don't have that feeling of it. There are all these public parks available for people to go to. Not even public parks, but other things like, public lakes and things like that. There are lakes all over the place out here, but they're all private lakes for that neighborhood. It's so frustrating. So I don't know. Still some growing pains in our new location, but I love the house.
Well, there you go.
That's the important part, right?
I mean,
I suppose
my takeaway from this is you live in a somewhat upper class neighborhood. You don't think of it as too upper class. But as a person who owns a company, sure, all your other neighbors own their own companies. And the dog parks just don't open enough. Like, it's got to be earlier. And these damn private lakes. Just too many private lakes.
I have a real problem with the private lakes. I hate. First thing, we almost moved into a gated community, and there are a lot of gated communities around here. I really have just this icky feeling about gated communities.
Probably would have got a lake then.
I would have. That's where all the lakes are in the little gated communities.
And the dog parks that open at 5.
Yeah. All right. So I sound like a broken record. I know I sound like a broken record. I swear to freaking God, I try not to talk about politics on this show. And we have acknowledged the fact that politics and technology are getting more and more intertwined. So that's whatever. But regardless of your opinion of the previous president, some people like him. There's been a couple. Most people don't care for him. Understandable. Regardless of whatever your opinion of that person is, 45, we'll call him 45 for now. I was hoping and just praying that what I saw today wasn't true. Like I was waiting for somebody to come out and say it was a deep fake. Have you guys seen Trump's pimping his NFT?
No.
I would go so far as to say I'm still not convinced it's not a deep fake, but it's an authorized deep fake. Because it looks bizarre and it doesn't sound like him.
It looks comical, right? Like somebody made a movie about like this crazy president person and this is what they did. Like it looks, and if you watch the video, watching the video made me think it's not a deep fake because
the
way
video
he spoke,
I thought was a deep fake. Now, there's some important caveats to this. Is that this is not owned or controlled by Trump. and is using his likeness and image under paid license. So
Right.
he's actually been paid for this already, and is not, or gets a commission or something. But this is not owned by him in any way, and
Right.
the video makes that super clear. The way he talks about it is that he doesn't even understand what this is and what the rewards are for this. He's just doing the video because he contracted his face to it.
Right, exactly. And it's obvious by watching the video, he doesn't even know what the hell he's talking about. Like, he doesn't know what an NFT is.
Right.
And
so we didn't say that. We didn't say what it is actually.
Oh, I thought I said the Trump NFT. Sorry about that. So this is the official Trump NFT. And it is so comical watching. First thing, he's talking about how he's autographing them personally. And it shows him just signing his name on an iPad or something, like some sort of tablet. He's just signing his name on like this digital tablet. It's like, what do you think you're doing right now? Like, that's not a thing. You're not signing. And then he talks about how it captures his term as presidency and the achievements he made during that time. And there's an NFT of him in an astronaut suit wearing sunglasses. I'm like, when did you do that? I didn't see that happen. I might have been a fan of yours if you had done that.
I saw that one and immediately thought it was Joe Biden because he's wearing the aviator glasses that Biden wears, that he has never worn.
Yep. And matter of fact, even when he's looking directly at the sun, he doesn't wear sunglasses. That's how genius this guy is. But then there's like another one of him with lasers coming out of his eyes.
Well, you don't know until you have paid the $99 each for all of the. So they haven't said how many of these cards exist, and I believe that when you pay $99, you get a random one.
Okay, that I didn't look that much into it, but in the video, so you mentioned that he doesn't own any of these, which doesn't surprise me. I don't think the guy knows how to write his own email. So the fact that he doesn't own NFT doesn't surprise me. It's hysterical that they thought this was a good time to release it. I realize they're trying to get to the Christmas rush and get all these right-wingers a good Christmas present. But we also had one of the biggest cryptocurrency scandals last week that has hit the world in a very long time. So that seemed like a bad idea. But even though he doesn't own the NFT, I guess you get you're entered into the special sweepstake and you can win prizes, and some of the prizes are like dinner with him or a Zoom call with him.
Right.
It's bizarre, man. So regardless of your opinion of the guy, if you love him or hate him, you have to acknowledge on a world stage, this looks bad. Like, this looks horrible for the previous president of this country to be trying to sell people NFTs.
I know what I'm getting you for Christmas, though. Thank you.
Please do that. Please do that.
That would be fascinating. Yeah, no, in the video he says there's also prizes. You can win a dinner with me at Mar-a-Lago, I guess. Like,
oh yeah, he does say that.
In the promotion video, he's like reading it for the first time.
Like, he's surprised by it. He's like, wait a minute, what? You can win what?
Yeah, and there's a golf session with Trump and your friends, but he very intentionally leaves out that he's going to be golfing with you. It's just for your friends at Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
It's super bizarre. And I don't even think he did a photo session for any of these pictures. I think these are just Getty images. It's like his involvement in the whole thing is super, super
I didn't even
low.
think about that. Yeah, it's bizarre.
Did they just use the image AI? And they're like Trump in a spacesuit, with
A couple
aviators.
a couple of them honestly look like it. Yes.
Would not be surprised. Would not be surprised in the slightest.
And to be clear, how easy it is to mint an NFT, we could have the full PHP Ugly NFT collection out tonight. Like, it's really, really easy.
We should do that. Just sell them for 99 cents. Since he's doing $99, just do 99 cents. Great Christmas present. Great Hanukkah present.
$99 is insane.
I don't know what NFTs normally go for, so I don't know if that's
There's no such thing as normally go for anymore. I think Seth Green bought one for $2.5 million, and it dropped down to like $45,000 this year, just within 6 months. And it's from the biggest NFT collection out there.
I think his wife has been doing NFTs like since they left office. Like,
yes,
that week they had minted NFTs that she was promoting.
I think his daughter / girlfriend has as well. Sorry, is that too political?
That is a disturbing image. Please don't do that to me.
I didn't do it.
All right. Okay. So John spoiled the next a little bit, but PHP
that's what I do.
Architect, that's fine. It was your week. It is what you worked on this week, so I can't be too upset. But the December issue of PHP Architect finally got released. I didn't mean to put that emphasis so hard on finally. Sorry, John. Finally got released.
That's a good emphasis because finally is one of the articles in this month's.
And I just realized it's capitalized on the cover, and it's not supposed to be.
I didn't even catch that. That's a reoccurring column. If you didn't know there, Tom. So I do want to call out the fact that bring value to your code is contributed by PHP Ugly listener Dimitri.
Oh, thank you, Dimitri.
It is a fantastic article. I don't want to hype Dimitri up too much because he's kind of a jerk to me a lot, but it's a damn good article, and I hope
this is actually the second part of his series. So he ties up value objects very well.
Yeah. Matter of fact, both of our features are continuations of previous months. So
yeah, I gotta get to
that was really cool.
Also,
John mentioned a lot of the speakers have been announced. Not all the speakers, but a lot of the speakers have been announced, and it is shaping up to be a very, very cool conference. And this is such, as a organizer, this is such a relief to feel like you had so many good we had so many good submissions. We ran out of space and time slot. I feel like we could have, if money was no object, having another track or two would have been easy to fill. But money is an object, and we didn't have those tracks. So many good talks. But so to get speakers and to get confirmation from the speakers this early, because the conference itself isn't until May, is pretty kind of weight off my shoulders. I don't know how you feel about it, John.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be nice. Soon we're going to start announcing the keynotes and releasing the actual schedule, the lineup. So definitely looking forward to it.
And if you didn't act soon enough, you missed out on Blind Early Bird, and we are just down to Early Bird now. So that won't last forever either. I won't tell you when it will expire, but it will expire at some point. And you may want to jump on it. Now that you see who the speakers are, you can wait. More speakers are going to be added, and eventually we're going to announce keynotes. So if you want to roll your dice, you can do that. But yeah, early bird is out there now. I encourage everybody to go out there and grab a ticket. Anything else, John? Is that it?
That's it. I didn't realize that it still kept the expired options on there, so I want to go remove those.
I saw that. I just noticed that too. I'm like, oh, crap, that's still there.
That doesn't need to be there anymore. Don't worry, I'll take care of it.
Right. How about you, Tom?
Well, an interesting that has come up for me this week is remote work. I am organizing this large project that involves 4 developers at this point, and we're really getting down to this crunch time where the project is due really soon. Everything that everyone was working on independently is coming together, and I don't think I could have done what I did this week in an office. Like I said earlier, I spent a lot of time in Slack organizing, this person needs this piece done, this person needs this piece done, what are you tracking right now? And it's like, in an office, to try and do that, I would have been running the whole time back and forth between desks saying, how's this going? How's this going? How's this going? And with remote work, at least with Slack, I was able to organize this so much better than I could have just running around an office.
I was gonna say, you realize Slack works inside an office too.
I was like, do you think people who work in offices don't have Slack? Question mark.
It's not just Slack. There's a lot of tools around remote work that have come out within the last 4 years.
I can pretty much guarantee you anything you use remotely, they have at the office. I'm not trying to diminish. I'll be honest with you. I'm not trying to diminish what you're saying, but hearing you say that, somebody who has never worked in an office or hasn't worked in the office in the last 15 years, you don't know if you could have accomplished there or not. I mean, come on.
I think the big difference for me is the compulsion to walk over to someone's desk versus just continue Slack threads.
That in itself isn't a terrible thing. Like sometimes you're doing like I'll Slack John and I'm waiting half the day for him to respond. I don't know why he's not responding. Is he ignoring me? Did he miss the message? Did he move on? Is he not responding? Whereas in the office, I would pop my head in his office and say, hey, blah blah da da ba da. Or if nothing else, hey, did you see my Slack?
The tools that have been developed to facilitate remote work have really made things easier in and out of the office. I'm very thankful for the tools that I have, because this week I've been leaning on them very heavily. One of the things I noticed though is that Slack is just a chat system, and it's like I kind of wish I could break out Slack into multiple windows and coordinate based off of a task, or this conversation is related to this PR, and like pin things in new ways. And I'm very surprised that there hasn't been a programmer related chat system that allows for this integration to GitHub. Say like, this is related to this PR. You can pull up the PR in the Slack window. You can say, here's where pipelines are failing or not failing. Slack is a great product, but it feels stagnant. Like there's not.
I don't know if stagnant is the right word. The fact that it's this continuous conversation. So like, we'll have it happen. I mean, I think everybody experiences this, but we'll do a deployment, and something will go squirrely with the deployment, and so a conversation would be going on about that. But somebody else might have something else they need addressed or want to talk about. And it's like, well, do I interject? Are they done talking? Can I go ahead and send my message? I don't want to disrupt what they're talking about, but at the same time, I have a problem I need to talk about that's not related to their problem.
If people were better at using threads, it vastly makes that better.
Yes,
Right.
and having really learned threads the last couple months has like totally changed, because I used to hate threads, and now I can't live without them. Although I do absolutely love Frank's comment here, which is that Slack feels stable. And I kind of don't want stable as a programmer. Like, yeah, in marketing or product development, sure, you want stable, but I kind of want like crazy new features every episode.
I was thinking that, like, you're looking at it from a developer perspective, but this is an app used by everybody, and so they're not going to necessarily have tools just for developers.
Right.
So can someone make a developer-oriented chat system for me so I can pirate it?
Oh, Discord.
Discord's pretty close. You can create breakout rooms with Discord that have dedicated...
Discord has come a long way, that's for sure.
It's Discord. I think people don't appreciate how much you can do with Discord. And they've had to really target this sort of like gamer/community audience. But I think a Discord focused on a company could be very interesting. You could do a lot with it. Specifically servers. I mean, just having a server for marketing versus having everyone in the same bundle, which I know is somewhat of a feature of Slack, but no one wants to manage my company's dev versus my company's product versus my company's marketing.
Right. And interesting enough, again, we're going to get back. I'm going to circle back around on this, but in this month's PHP Architect, finally, which Tom talked about, discusses the whole concept of not owning our own content. And Slack is a perfect example of that, right? Like, if Slack goes away, or if your company stops paying for Slack, what happens to all that knowledge that you guys have been sharing there? Like, how do you capture that and bring it with you? It's an interesting concept, and Beth Tucker Long talks about that in this month's article. All right, I'm a disclaimer. All right, I'm gonna pivot here a little bit. Sorry, I assume you're at a stopping point here, Tom. I understand, and I can appreciate that. Of late, John and I spent a lot of time talking about PHP Architect and PHP Tech on the show, and the reality of it, that isn't changing. That's our life. That's how we make a living. Just like Tom talks about his job, that's our job. We're going to talk about it. I will say, I'm going to give you a little sneak peek, a little preview. John and I have been talking about it, and I think starting next year, we're going to reformat the PHP Architect podcast, which we haven't really made time to do for the last couple of months. We're going to reformat it to be more like this, where it's John and I talking about the release and things leading up to the release and other things within PHP Architect, because it's just everything we do, and I love it, and I like sharing about it, and I really try to restrain myself to not talk about it too much on this show, and I appreciate people like hearing about it, but I don't know. John and I are going to try to use a new format starting next year that kind of mimics a little bit more of this, of just us talking and, just
talking
whatever.
Work.
Yeah.
Talking shop.
And speaking of talking shop, let's talk shop. Let's talk Cloudways.
This video is brought to you by Cloudways. We are all developers and love to write code, but managing the servers that code runs on can be a time-consuming and error-prone process. Cloudways helps you spend less time managing your servers and more time doing what you really want to do, coding. You only need one account to manage servers on multiple platforms and for multiple customers. Pick just the server size and location that makes the most sense for you and your customers. You can even estimate your costs for your server before spinning it up. Cloudways offers peace of mind and flexibility so you can focus on growing your business instead of dealing with server management. With Cloudways, you get an optimized stack, managed servers, backups, a staging environment, integrated Git, pre-configured Composer, 24/7 support, and a choice of 5 different cloud providers: Amazon Web Services, DigitalOcean, Linode, Google Cloud, and Vultr. Get a discount of 20% for 3 months using the code PHPARCH. Check them out today.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Cloudways.
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 Did you guys know you can make a living now in open source? I mean, not a great living, but you can make a living with open source now.
Well, yeah, I've
Can
been
you?
selling feet pictures for a while.
Was that?
Is that not what you meant?
What did you say?
Feet pictures?
Feet pictures. What is? How are
That's not
pictures
open source if you're
open
selling
source?
them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a Creative Commons license.
Anyways, I guess GitHub Accelerator is a thing now. And if you have an open source project, you can apply to GitHub Accelerator. And watching the video, didn't deep dive into it because I don't have any open source projects to apply, or I would consider it. But I guess they're paying as much as $30,000 a year for people to work on open source projects, which doesn't sound like a crazy amount depending on where you are in this world, but that's a good significant chunk of change for working on a passion project that you've decided to keep open source. I have to applaud GitHub and Microsoft for doing this. I have no idea what their idea, like I have a theory that this is related to please don't sue us because of Copilot, and I mentioned that in the past.
Yeah, it really smells like if you sign this and we'll give you money and you're not allowed to sue us for using it in Copilot.
I honest to goodness think that is part of the motivation to this, but I'm not a lawyer and I can't speak to that. But it feels very.
And you haven't seen the contracts or anything.
I'm looking right now. I'm looking specifically for anything about use of machine learning.
Okay. All right. So we've made fun of John Congdon in the past.
What? You would not do
Occasionally.
that.
Occasionally we do. And one of the bigger running jokes that we had on the show was how long his PRs stay open. Because John has had some historically long open PRs. I tried to break the record when we were Diego Dev and gave people the direction not to close a PR from John because I was trying to get it to 5 years. And eventually somebody closed it and I got very upset with them. Let me ask you before we move on, what do you think your reasonable length of time before you consider a PR as aging too long, and then what do you do with it? Because that's one of the things we track. I don't close them. We have some very long running PRs that have been open. Who is that?
It was me trying to fix my camera.
Oh, you're frozen. Yeah. Okay. We have some very long PRs running, but let me ask you guys, how long do you think is a reasonable amount of time for a PR to be open? And when it's open past that time, what do you do about it?
So I don't think it's about the length of the time that the PR has been open. I think it's the most recent activity on the PR, because you can definitely go in and flag a PR as blocked by something, and it can be blocked for months. You know, if it's a particularly ambitious thing and it's not through the approval process or whatever. But as long as there's a flag on it that says this PR is blocked by this, then you're covered. So if it's a blocking issue, then it can sit for months as far as I care, because the blocking issue is the one that becomes the point of focus. If it's been approved and hasn't been merged, then that's on the head of the team to get that merged in. And if it's not approved because it's pending some change that's been requested, then that change has to get made, or you have to cancel the PR. I mean, I really don't decline PRs ever. I don't see a real need to. But you definitely have to discuss with the developer who created the PR why it's sitting somewhere for so long. And John has had some historically long-standing PRs because of insecurity about the severity of the change. I think that's the biggest one that really has been an issue, which is like upgrading PHP versions or MySQL versions, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's fair. It's not necessarily security as much as when you're touching legacy code, sometimes it's scary to make changes. It's kind of pointless to focus on me when I'm frozen.
I was gonna say you're doing your whole puppet thing. You can't even see your lips move.
Yeah, I think it depends on whose fault it is that the PR is sitting for so long. And if it's because the company doesn't want to make a dramatic change, then it's their fault. And you just leave it, dying on the vine because of them and say that's because of you.
Okay. All right. I mean, that makes sense. So we've talked in the past about how quickly Laravel will close a PR, and that has been
Yes.
a point of contention, and it has resurfaced as a point of contention with another recent PR that just got closed because it was one of these things where, okay, well, somebody reported a bug of, hey, if you do this and a blade this way, things go wrong, error messages happen, and kind of the reply was, okay, well, don't do it that way then.
I saw this Twitter thread, and I didn't know what it was about. So can you explain this to me a little better?
But it wasn't a Twitter thread. It was a GitHub issue.
GitHub issue.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean that was basically it. Somebody called out. There's a way if you use PHP and PHP tags and a blade template, things go squirrely. And kind of the response was, hey, don't do it that way. And ultimately, the ticket ended up being closed by Taylor that says, we close issues we don't plan to work on. Google still surfaces closed issues. Anyone can still search for closed issues. That's how we work. And it's very much this is how I handle my project. You're going to live with it.
Well, that's
slight correction there. It was closed by Dries Vince, who's the one who says you did it wrong and then just closes the ticket.
But
it was reopened and merged by Taylor, and he explained that it was closed because Dries is told if it's not something we expect to work on, then we're not going to merge the PR. But it was definitely not closed by Taylor. It was closed by the guy who always says, "You did it wrong, fuck off."
So I see closing the PRs kind of like deleting code out of your code base. It's always available. It's in Git. A lot of us comment code out versus delete it. Same thing with the PR. If it's going to be worked on later, it can be reopened. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah, but I mean, don't you think, like, if somebody else comes across this problem, wouldn't their first thing to do would say, okay, are there any open issues about this problem? No? Well, I'll open an issue. And then it just starts this cycle of, this has already been discussed, we've already closed it, we're not fixing it. Blah.
Yeah.
But it's, I mean, to me, this is the bigger issue is that this is an open source product. A person has given you a solution for free, and the response was you insult me by saying that this is actually an issue. How dare you? Closed. Instead,
They didn't give you they didn't give you a solution. They didn't do a solution. They just pointed out the issue.
Oh, it's just an issue. It's not a PR.
Right.
So it's pointless to keep them open forever. I understand what you're saying. Like, somebody else has the issue and comes and searches, but to me, at that point, it's the maintainer. Like, oh, this has been opened already. You can link the two of them.
I feel like there needs
issue.
I feel like there needs to be another status with it's a open. Well, actually, there is another status. That's a PR. So with issues, I feel like there needs to be another status of just open and closed. Like, I don't know what that status is. I don't know what that looks like.
Well,
but I can see
like Jira. I have 700 statuses in Jira, and I hate 99% of them.
Right. But I mean, there's something to be said for a project as large as the Laravel framework. When you come to this GitHub, and there are only 6 open issues, right? So how do you view that? Do you just say, well, they close anything they don't want to fix? Or do you say, well, they do a very good job at pruning their issues and keeping what they're actually going to work on as live issues? I see both sides of that fence. It's like, first thing, to just say you're not going to fix it, like, just like have a tag that says, hey, this is an open issue. We're not going to fix it. But if somebody from the open source community wants to contribute and fix it, this would be a good thing for you to work on because we're not going to work on it. Like, some sort of status like that. Like, these are workable issues that other people can work on.
Yeah. And I have to point to, after closing the ticket, there was a couple like comments that were just like, hey, this is clearly a bug. Why are you just closing it? And according to the documentation, this should work, so why are you closing it? And the comment from Laravel was, we're not going to spend time looking into this ourselves. You're welcome to send in a PR. Like, this is poor relationship management. Like, this, I understand.
But that's basically what I just said, except somebody else coming in later will not know that, will not know to go look at closed issues.
Right.
To see this is something that they should work on or can work on. There needs to be another status for that, especially for open. I totally can appreciate open source maintainers wanting to keep their issue log as small as possible. But at the same time, if there's a bug that needs to be fixed, why don't you let somebody try to fix it if they're willing to try to fix it?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest issues here is just how it's addressed, saying because it is easily resolved, we acknowledge that it's a bug, but it is a back burner task for us. Thank people for finding issues. First off, thank you for reporting this.
Valid. That's very valid.
Quit being an asshole. I'm so tired of the attitude of like, well, I'm giving you this thing. No, you're getting a paycheck from Laravel now, so you're not giving me shit. We're giving you shit for free. We're issuing bug reports. I don't mean to get worked up about it. It's just, I've dealt with so many open source maintainers where I'm like, hey, I've ran into.
We can't hear you, John. I'm sorry to cut you off, Tom.
No, I was just saying you're not giving them any issues anymore because you're not using Laravel.
That's true too.
that might change eventually, but that's another conversation for like February. I like to think in terms of months from now. Like that's a next year Tom problem.
I love that next year Tom issue.
Yeah. But like,
I love the name backburner too. Like that would be the perfect category for an issue. Like have an area of GitHub that you call backburner and have that be all the open source stuff. All right.
I mean,
I want to move on. We're running very late and we have a lot more to get through. So I do want to move on. Sorry, I'm cutting you off again, Tom, but
that's
got things to do.
The listeners are used to it.
All right, so there's this next piece is going to be like a twofold thing. Let me move it over in Trello so that people know what I'm talking about here. But Taylor tweeted today about new things are in the latest release of Laravel. To Tom's point, he doesn't care about this, or maybe he will care about it again very shortly. I still care about it. I still use Laravel.
I still love Laravel.
Okay.
It's my ex-girlfriend now, but I still love her.
That's awesome. All right, so I don't typically do this, but I'm going to do it for you guys. I'm if you're listening to audio podcast, you're not going to appreciate any of this, but I'm sharing the Twitter thread that Taylor posted about what's new in this release. And if you're looking at this, there's this, and then some people start to reply, and then I don't know what Brady has to do with any of this, but this thread just kind of gets lost eventually. I was looking at this. Now this is the PHP Ugly Twitter handle, and I'm in a PHP Ugly specific browser that I have configured for the PHP Ugly show. And I'm looking at this. I'm like, why does this not look right? Why does this? I can't like. Why is this other junk in here? And I remembered that my account, I have Twitter Blue on. Now, before anybody says anything, I had Twitter Blue a long time ago. The Twitter Blue I have does not give me a blue check mark. It's just this old Twitter Blue that let me edit podcasts and things like that, or edit tweets. But it has all these additional features, and I didn't even realize this was a feature. This is how I'm able to view this exact same thread on my Twitter page when I'm going to it from my account. This very pretty, just his thread of what is in the release. And I love this. Like I've been doing this. I have to click on this is an extra click. So when I come here, I see the same thing. And then I have this little thing up here that says, hey, just show me the original thread that was posted because that's what I want to read. And I click that and I get this very clean interface. And I didn't even realize this was a Twitter Blue thing until I tried to do it on PHP Ugly. I'm like, where the hell is that little notebook at? Why can't I click on the notebook? And I realized, oh, it's a Twitter Blue thing. So that being said, the latest release, one of the things I want to talk about with the latest release of Laravel is they address a couple of things. And one of the things was like this, I don't know why it was a pain point for me, but it was like one of these things that irritated me. So if you've ever tried to modify a existing table in a database within Laravel, so you try to change something, like try to drop a column or rename a column or something along that line, you had to install the Doctrine Composer package to do so. And my big gripe was, if you need that to change a table in the database, why don't you just include it with the regular install? Like, how big of a package is it where you just can't install it? It's frustrating when you go to run the migration. Huh?
How big could Doctrine possibly be?
I mean, 9 times out of 10, you end up pulling it into your project anyways. But that was until today, or until this latest release of Laravel. Apparently, that's no longer required to perform certain modifications to a table. I don't know if that has limitations or not, but yeah, that's a thing. The other kind of cool thing I wanted to point out is with the HTTP client now, you have a throw if statement you can put in. So you can say, you can put in your HTTP post request or GET request, and then have a throw if statement that essentially captures an error if an error happens, and then it allows you to pass it a closure to do something.
Actually, the way I'm reading that, it's not if an error happens. Well, you still get a 200 response from the site, but there's an error response in the body where
True.
normally I hit
Good
something.
catch, John.
Normally I hit something and I get a 404 because that resource isn't found. I would get a guzzle exception. This is like, nope, you're going to get a 200 if the body matches something or there's some other condition in there. You can make the HTTP throw an exception as if there was a 404 or some other error status.
You know what else is good for catching errors, John?
What is that?
When you're in production, 1,000 things can go wrong. You could deploy a bug in your latest release. Your background jobs can silently fail. Someone could trip over the network cable at your data center, and this all comes back to you. You need to know when bad things happen and be able to respond to them quickly. That's why we built Honeybadger. It's easy to install Honeybadger in your back-end applications and front-end JavaScript. It only takes a few minutes of configuration and you'll have monitoring done. That's because we hook into popular web frameworks, job systems, and the browser, so that when any of them crash, we can automatically let you know. We ping your application from our global fleet of servers to let you know about problems with connectivity, latency, and SSL certificates, and we monitor your recurring jobs to see if any of them stop recurring. When there's a problem, we alert your team using the tools you already use. We can create issues in GitHub, Jira, and other issue trackers, and send notifications via Slack, PagerDuty, or other channels. When you click through, you'll be taken to detailed information on the error. You'll see things like request parameters, headers, user information, and the backtrace. Click on any line of the backtrace to view it in GitHub, Bitbucket, or your local editor. When you fix a problem, just mark it resolved and follow up with the affected user. That's Honeybadger. We're the monitoring tool for web developers who'd rather be, well, developing.
Thank you,
Thank
Honeybadger.
you, Honeybadger.
Thank you, Honeybadger. I came across an interesting post on Reddit about web development. Like, what is your web development stuff that you know and sort of just take for granted? Well, I'll just quote it here. What is basic web programming knowledge to you, but surprised you that many people you work with don't have?
I don't know if this falls into that category, but when I was in operations, it always boggled my mind that a web developer didn't understand how a web server or networking worked. Like, it was amazing to me that they didn't understand how that worked, and they were designing web applications.
The first time you show them how to use telnet to an exact port, type in get whatever, and then magic happens.
Yeah, that sort of thing.
I would go less than that and just say, like, hey, when a port is in use from another Docker container, like, kill the other Docker container or switch your ports. Like, just the idea of ports, to me, growing up, like, internet in the 90s was all about ports. You would see some big name companies actually hosting their websites on 8080 in the early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as crazy as that sounds,
as
crazy as that sounds, there were ads for stuff like, food.com:8080. Because no one had the idea of just .com on its own was so foreign that you might as well tell them to use a non-standard port or something. I don't know what the reasoning was.
That's another thing. Like, well, first thing, even today, I find people surprised that you can host more than one website on the same server, which blows their mind. But then they don't understand the basic URL structure and how that works, and how it resolves to a web page, and they're like, well, you can't deploy that on that server because that server is www.myhomepage.com, and this I need to be something else. It's like, don't worry about it. It all works the same. It'll be fine.
Well, yeah, in the same subreddit, there was a person asking about a URL that was like 4 subdomains deep and could not comprehend how that actually worked. And the first 2 subdomains, it was .india.co. So just that they couldn't comprehend was like when we split the internet up into US versus everyone else, we basically said .com is for Americans, you dirty bastards, and if you're in Europe, you get .co.uk. You get extra dots. But the number one response here was the number one response here was reading documentation. And I don't know if that's super upvoted just because it's funny. But do you ever forget to? Like, are you ever working on something and you think you've read the documentation? Like, yeah, I looked at it.
Oh, I skim the documentation all the time. That's one of the reasons why I still need the Laravel documentation, because I never read anything completely. I read whatever I need to find to read.
Do you ever ask somebody and they just send you a URL to the documentation? Well, no, you don't have to answer that. I know that's true because you've done that to me several times. Why is it talking about
John?
Here! Just leave me alone. Go read the documentation.
Well, and we have a very completed Confluence system for like every question you could have. And thankfully the team is really nice when you ask a question that's been answered 1,000 times. But it's always just like a link to the Confluence docs where like, yeah, if you'd searched for the thing you're looking for, you would have found it immediately. But then the other thing is testing. And quote here, I don't mean unit testing. I mean opening a freaking browser window and seeing if it works.
I'm terrible about that. I get yelled at all the time. I open a pull request because I write code. I'm like, test passed. This should work just fine. Did you test it in the browser?
So
no, I didn't test it in the browser. Leave me alone.
That's the funny thing is that this was never an issue for me until I started working on a multi-person team and doing test-driven development, where like I write my test and my test passes and it's a feature test and a unit test. So of course it fucking works. And then I push it along and someone opens a browser and it 404s and I'm like, well, that shouldn't happen.
Shouldn't. Famous last words.
Like, I feel like very specifically targeted by all of these answers because I keep not reading the documentation. I've stopped opening the browser when I really should. And then it starts getting into what we were discussing about just, the fundamentals of how computers work. But I thought this was a very interesting discussion. I'd love to hear what our Discord has to say about this because we're all about community and our Discord community is awesome. I wish I could contribute to it more. I read it all the time, but I'm so much of a lurker there right now.
I enjoy your Discord.
I had a weird issue today. I'm going to break from our cards for a sec, where there was this ticket that's been open for probably 2 weeks at this point, and I read it a week ago.
4 cards ago.
Stop. I read it a week ago, and I just couldn't comprehend. So I wrote back like, "Can you please, explain like I'm 5? Tell me what's going on." And he responded, very big paragraph of exactly what's happening, or sort of exactly what's happening. I don't get to it yesterday, so he writes in there, "Hey, just want to make sure you saw this." I look at it again today, and again, I'm just glazing over while looking at this ticket, and it was driving me nuts. And I wrote to him in Slack, like, listen, I don't know what's going on. I'm not comprehending. He recorded a video, and it was like 3 lines of code later, I'm done. It was so frustrating. It was like, wow, with the video, it just like everything clicked, and it turned out to be an easy fix.
Yeah, that's happened to me.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a thing. All right.
Yeah.
I want to go ahead and throw our Patreon supporters up here and say thank you to all of them.
Yes.
Read the
thank
wonderful
you.
names. And I'm going to keep talking on the show why this is up for a little while, just to kind of, again, let everybody know how much we appreciate everybody who supports us on Patreon. Thank you again, from Buttery to Tori. All you are wonderful people. Thank you.
I think it might be Tor.
Tor, yeah, I think you're right. Because Tori would be like an IE, wouldn't he? I don't know.
Well,
Tor,
was there an accent on the E, and we just can't
I don't
support?
know, man. I just don't know anymore. Anyways, John, Tom, you were talking about some of the challenges you have with project management now, and some of the things, some of the tools you wish were a thing in project management. Have you played with, and we've talked about this a little bit in the past, have you played with or used at all Notion?
He
have
just wrote in Discord that he should.
As with all things that I talk about,
he did
on this podcast, the first thing that happens every time I say, like, hey, I wish there was a tool for this, someone is like, here's that tool.
So Notion is something I started using Notion a while back, and I was using Notion, I thought, to replace Evernote. Like, I thought it was going to be a replacement to Evernote, because I don't know why I felt like I needed to replace Evernote, but that was my intention. And it's not a good replacement for Evernote, at least not the way I use Evernote. So it didn't work for that, but I continued to use it, continue to get my head around it. It really is a great tool for a developer once you understand document stores and how document stores work, and that everything is a document in this data scheme data store, and you can link to stuff. So when we started doing PHP Architect, John and I struggled with a good workflow on how to manage the articles, how to manage where the articles were in the release cycle, and all this other stuff. And through some trial and error, him and I started developing this workflow in Notion. And it really helped a lot. It didn't answer all the questions by any means, but it definitely helped a lot from what we were doing. And recently, we onboard the rest of the PHP Architect team, the employees. So if you've been contributing to the magazine as a regular columnist, they always had the option to use Notion to submit their columns, which we so appreciate when they do that, because it's very easy for us to pull it into our workflow, as opposed to them sending it to us. Then we have to copy it over. Sometimes there's some formatting issues, blah, blah, blah. But we expanded this now to the rest of the team. So I've been using it to do our weekly meetings with the team for a long time. And now the entire team has visibility to it. And it's so good to hear some of the positive feedback. So a couple of the people have really kind of embraced Notion and started working on what we call them playbooks, which are basically just documentation of anything, right? It's you have a topic, you create a playbook for it that explains that topic, how to resolve it, blah, blah, blah. They're creating playbooks. A lot of them are really appreciating the thought of a document store and how everything can be a database and everything can link to other things. And I actually use some of the plugins to pull in a feed from GitHub that shows open PRs. So I say all that because I have an affiliate link, which will be in the show notes and is in Discord. If anybody is interested in trying Notion, hit the affiliate link and hook us up a little bit. We appreciate that. But then it was funny. Okay. I want to say this and not offend anybody. And I am actually one of the biggest kind of offenders of this problem. But grammar is not everybody's strong suit. Like putting together complete sentences that make sense and they're spelled correctly, some people challenge. And as you can imagine, when we're reviewing, hundreds of articles a year, there's a lot of grammar checking going on. And one of the things we've been doing is the first thing we do is when we get an article, we have to actually put, so even if they submit it directly to Notion, we have to pull it out of Notion and put it in Grammarly and let Grammarly work its magic so that we can kind of figure it out and clean it up and all that. And the reason why we do that, because Grammarly has a browser plugin that it will work on other sites, but doesn't work too well for whatever reason on Notion. Okay, so that's something we're doing. Notion now has this like early beta release, so you have to put your name on a wait list, but they have this. They're calling it Notion AI. And when I mentioned this to John's like, I don't want to hear another AI story. Fuck off.
I was going to say, is it stealing my grammar to make your grammar better?
So that's actually great. But no, one of the things AI does, and I put my name on the wait list for this because I was curious about it, is it sounds like it's going to do like a Grammarly thing. I mean, it sounds like it's going to do like a Grammarly thing. It does other things. Like you can say, hey, write a summary is a good example. Anything like, just like the chat AI or whatever that thing is. It's kind of the same thing. You can or Copilot, you can kind of give it a comment of, hey, I need a intro to this product. And then this AI engine will write it in Notion for you. Kind of a cool thing. And I'm wondering if this is like a good thing or bad thing. So I'm on the wait list. I'll let you guys know.
I'm on the wait list too. I'm like 540,000 or some crazy number.
Oh, you see that?
Yeah.
No, he's looking at Ticketmaster.
It was right after I signed up or joined it. The next screen told me what number I was, but I don't know what that is.
Attention.
There's been a weird churn lately against all AI on the internet, where like the Chat GPT thing happened.
Chat GPT.
So people are uploading these generated self-portraits to Instagram. In fact, it's one of the ones that Taylor Otwell is using as his profile picture right now, is this clearly AI generated portrait. And the internet seems to really think that this is getting too close to Skynet. Like,
I was going to say, I actually used it to my benefit today. Like, I legitimately used that chat. What's it? GPT?
GPT, yeah.
I used that today because in my new house that I've now been in here for about a year, we have these lights in our upstairs bathroom. I never liked those lights. Like they don't shine bright enough, so I never use them. So today we thought to pick up new bulbs. I'm like, okay, I'm going to change the light bulbs up there so that they're brighter bulbs, they're cleaner bulbs, and I'll be happy. And I went to go change them, and they're not normal screw-in lights. Like, I've never seen this sort of light.
Tiny ones?
No. It's a
like
big,
prongs.
like it's a big, like a fluorescent one, but it's It's up like it's screwed in. So I'm like, what the hell is this? And how do I replace it? And so I went to that chat GPT. I'm like, what other type of light sockets are there in a house that are not screw-in sockets? And it came back with a bunch of like other light sockets that you might have in your house. I'm like, hey, that's it. It was like a boost socket or something like that. I'm like, that must be what I have, is like this boost socket that have just these two prongs on the side. You just have to turn it like a quarter of the way and pull it straight down.
Well,
I haven't tried that yet because I don't want to break it. But
so related to that, I saw somebody was talking about redecorating their house. And so they asked ChatGPT, what is a good way to, what is a good modern decoration for a room of this size, of X by Y by Z? And then they just fed the ChatGPT response into Midjourney image generator, and it made a room for him. Like it put the couch in the right place, and it just made these nice modernly decorated rooms of the specified dimensions with like modern accoutrements, pressed plywood chair in the style of Eames with a climbing vine over here and a television on a Vesa mount with the wires hidden, and like feeding an AI response into an AI prompt for an image to generate various different styles of room design. And I was like, shit, we're all out of a job. All of us. I saw there's a big YouTuber who basically posted his like rough opinion of a video game. Like he played the game and said like, hey, it was generally a good game, but it had, frame rate problems and the story didn't flesh out like I wanted it to in the last half. Write a full length video game review based off of that. And it did.
Yeah.
It fully
that was like one of the Notion ones that they did. They did something very similar like that in Notion.
But it's like, to me, that's the wrong direction. You're taking a good summary of your experience and creating a 10-minute read for somebody who doesn't want that. They want the summary. We're inflating information now. This is the opposite of zipping files. This is inflating opinions. That as a podcaster, I don't need that on my mind. That's what we do. It's very, very strange. But we've talked enough about ChatGPT.
Okay.
I
have something exciting. I will move on. AES. We've talked in the past about the new code editor by JetBrains, which is meant to be more of a VS Code sort of editor, more lightweight. It only enables the language like engine if you tell it to, all these things. It's called Fleet. And I had mentioned that I didn't use it because it didn't have Vim mode, and I just can't use editors that don't have Vim mode. It just isn't functional for me. Well, if you're like me and you're waiting for Fleet to get Vim mode, they have a version of Vim mode now. It's not fantastic. It's not an extension. So I still don't think they have extensions or plugins. It's just a setting in the settings menu, and you just say enable Vim mode. It's very limited. It's very basic Vim mode, just basically JKLH and some of the very simple Vim things. But they have a checklist that they're going through to essentially mirror more of what Idea Vim does in the JetBrains tool sets like PHP Storm. So that is very encouraging to hear. because it means that they're listening to the people. If you're a part of that Vim thread on JetBrains, it got out of hand for Fleet. And I don't know. It was nice that they acknowledge, hey, we're listening to you. We're addressing this. We're working on it. So I'm still not going to use it because I don't know. I'm not going to use it yet, but it does have Vim. But I'm more inclined to try it for other things that I've been not using it for. But it won't be an everyday driver. It's very far from being an everyday driver for me. All right. Is that it? Are we done?
We are done. Hour and a half.
Man,
Where'd the time go?
I don't know what's been going on with these shows lately, but we seem to be like well formatted, have a lot to discuss, carry things on. Pretty. I'm liking it. All right, that is going to do it for episode 315. I'm Eric.
I'm John.
I'm Tom.
Keep it
ugly.
1, 2, 1, 2. Coming off the top, y'all know how we do. Listen, I'ma drop a freestyle you can cherish. I'ma send a shout out to the host named Eric. Yo, he's never on some average shit. You know, Eric, he stays loud and passionate. I'm about to break it down for y'all with the clever song. Yo, shout the host named Thomas, cause he's never wrong. Yo, shout to John. You know that he's smart and quiet, unlike my freestyles, which cause a riot. I'm about to do it like this, cause the people love me. Shouts out to PHP, the ugly. It's called ugly cause it's not professional, but I'm about to come through and bless it with style. So let's do it when I'm spitting, I perfume the room. Yo, the segment of the show is called Doom and Gloom. That came from Thomas. Yeah, can nobody go beyond this? I get the mic and then I'm about to keep it like a promise. Yeah, and y'all know we fill them up with anguish. We talking about the PHP, the programming language. About to break it down, no exaggeration. What do y'all do for a living? Web applications. Okay, I can dig it, my words spray tight. They getting together on the Thursday nights. Yeah, when it comes to rhyming, you can call me the new dude. I spew true lyrics while y'all broadcast on YouTube. So let's get it. You know my lyrics are major. All up in the comments, they got plenty of haters, but they doing what they doing. Keep it ugly. We ending every show with the saying it's lovely. Let's go. Hey, shout out to y'all. Peace to the whole squad, man. Hope your channel is doing real well on YouTube.
Hey, that's it. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us. That was awesome. Great show. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you.
Buttery. Always good to have you around, Buttery. So Champ I saw earlier. Who else was in with us tonight? Was it just Champ? Roger? Champ, you're all over the place. You're on YouTube, you're on Discord. Look at you. You're a maniac. That's what you are.
I want to do this now. Discord has given me a brilliant idea.
What's that?
Which is to create a website that intentionally presents recipes that work, except it adds a teaspoon of Ipecac to every recipe.
Ipecac? What's Ipecac?
It makes you throw up.
It's the forced vomiting.
Why would you do
So
that?
because I could just say, like, the website's named recipes that'll make you throw up, but when it gets scraped by ChatGPT and someone wants a recipe for cookies, maybe it'll accidentally include an ingredient that'll make you throw up.
It's a horrible thing to do.
Well, it was originally gonna.
Our I was gonna say our chat is our Discord is awesome, but if that's the idea they came out with, I'm going to.
I don't think they did. I think this is Tom just kind of.
My initial idea was.
Gotcha.
And I don't want to poison anybody.
You sure? Because it sounds like you do.
Unlike Mr. 45, who recommended drinking bleach.
Oh, that's true. That's true. All right. Who wants to see me do show notes? We're gonna do show notes here.
I want you to put that Trump video up because I know.
No way. Really? Do you really want me to do that?
Okay. I know John hasn't seen it.
I watched it while we were recording.
Oh, you did? It's so.
I think it's real. I'm pretty sure it's real.
But see, I can't tell because
I thought it was real.
Jordan Peele made a video where he impersonated Obama, and it was an internet awareness campaign about deepfakes. And there's just some slightly weird movements and inflections in his voice in this video where I can't really tell.
Yeah.
Like the way, okay, him saying, "I guess you get a dinner with me." I don't know. I haven't really read it. is against my point. Obviously, they wouldn't want that in the final version if that wasn't the only thing he gave them.
Actually, I'm going to take this card off of the Trello board because I don't even want it in the show notes. I don't want that link in the show notes.
No, but the first thing he says, the very first sentence. "Hello, everyone. This is Donald Trump." And then he does the thing with his hands where he's like squeezing a boob. "Hopefully your favorite president.
Oh, yeah. What?
Better than Lincoln. Better than Washington." What?
Yeah.
What?
Why are you even saying that? How out of place is that?
Oh my! For the first sentence, this is me, the best president in history. Here are the two other presidents that rank 2 and 3 below me. What are you fucking talking about? It's so bizarre. Like,
uh-oh. Uh-oh.
To be fair, he meant better in our minds of him being our favorite, not that he was a better president.
Oh man, I don't know.
well, okay, for the white supremacists out there, 100% true.
Verification stuff.
That it's just so.
Hmm.
It's so bonkers.
Oh, do you want to hear something I've been struggling with? I bet
Yes.
you it's this stuff here. Let me take out these. So my new keyboard. Well, first thing.
You missed an N in announced.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it started over. And, see. Anyways, my new keyboard. I talked about how it moved the escape key to where you normally have a cap lock key, right? So you can envision that in your head where your cap lock key is now a escape key for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had previously mapped that to control, so I've been struggling with not using it for control, but using it for escape. But the problem I'm having on my Pop OS system is the keys are Shift, Escape, Tab. Right. So if you can envision that in your head, Tab is above the Escape, Shift is below it. And on my Pop OS machine, I've been trying to, with my new keyboard, I've been trying to type properly and use my pinkies to type, which is not something I had traditionally done. So I've been trying to use my pinkies to type more. And when I hit the super key, which is on a Windows keyboard would be a Windows key, and try to hit tab through my applications that I have, I will mess up more times than not and hit the super key and escape, and that locks my desktop. I'm like, motherfucker, gotta turn that off.
I have a similar issue. The worst one I had was, so I have a barrier for the cross communication between my Mac and my PC.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to hit Control L to highlight the URL that I'm currently on, either for copying it or for just changing to a different website. But in Mac, everything is Command instead of Control, or it's a power key instead of Control. Not power key. What did you call it? Super key.
Super key.
So super key L locks the desktop, and I do that all the time still.
I don't know what's going on with my show note app. I need to.
Today
work
I
on that.
learned Control L. We'll select the URL.
Oh, I use it all the time because it highlights the whole URL. So if you just start typing, you go to a new URL, or
So
if
you're
Control-C
gonna
to
make
copy.
you're gonna make fun of me. Here, let me move this back over, and I'll give you a demonstration. You're gonna make fun of me, but this is actually one of the benefits to having that Vim plugin for my browser. So first thing, if I want to go to another URL, I can just hit O, and it'll open this up, and I can type it in. Or like here, I'm on Twitter. Let me escape out. I can just type GE, and it opens up the existing URL, and I can just edit it back to, I just want to go back to Taylor, for example, right? And then the really cool thing about it is, now my hands haven't left my keyboard yet, so obviously I can scroll and all that other stuff. I can hit YY, and if you look down the bottom right-hand corner, it just yanked that URL for me. So if I say open again, or actually, let's what can we do? Let's just open another tab, right? So I hit Shift O, and I can paste. Now I have that URL in, and I can paste it, or I should have been able to paste it. Why is it not pasting? Oh, did I nuke it? What happened there? Yank, yank. Okay. Shift O. Shift O. Well, normally that works.
It's the
This is
curse
not
of the live
working.
demo.
Was that?
It's the curse of the live demo.
Yeah, pretty much.
I told somebody today that I wanted a video of the successful happy path because I didn't want the system to blue screen on stage. And obviously they had no idea what I was talking about. But I'm like, Windows 95 blue screened on stage when Bill Gates was presenting it. And they're like, dude, I'm 20. Like, Windows 95 was a huge deal. The pie in the face, but then the blue screen on stage. And they're like, no, I don't know what any of that is. Bill Gates hasn't run Microsoft in 15 years. No. Don't curse me like this.
All right. Well, I need
You're
to
old.
look at my
Did you see
show
the link I
notes app.
posted from Gizmodo?
No.
Yes.
Where was that?
Like all these NFTs are actually stolen images from small clothing retailers.
What? Where's that at?
It's posted in Slack.
Oh, in Slack? Oh. Why did you post it there? Why didn't you post it in
I didn't think. I don't think.
Trump's badly photoshopped NFTs appear to use photos from small clothing brands. These are so weird, man. These are so weird. I don't understand this.
The first one, I was like, no, that looks different. And then I realized that they had flipped the image. If you look at the crease lines on the right leg versus the left leg, it's the exact same photo.
This is so weird, man. This world is so weird.
Bonkers.
I never understood NFTs. Like I thought there might have been an outside, use case for it, like this edge use case for them. But this whole trading card world doesn't make sense to me.
No, it doesn't. Trading cards is stupid. All right, give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
Gotta find out what's going on with my write code thing here.
All right. I'm gonna call it.
Get out of here. You're leaving me? You're gonna leave me alone with this guy?
How to install synthetic.
First thing I'm gonna do is get card attachments. I use parent class. Curious. Live code. I'll live code them with you guys. Card. Get cards. This isn't working. What's not working? So I know what the current show is. cards. What's going on here?
What's your error?
Oh, I bet you it's that stupid. I bet you it's that stupid API endpoint change. Damn it! What's my error? I don't know what my error is. I have to run it again.
You're muted, Tom.
I know. Do you guys want to hear the worst version of I skimmed the docs and think I get it?
Sure.
I'm trying to buy a house right now.
Okay. Yeah, you don't want to skim those docs, brother. Don't want to skim those docs.
First time I've ever applied for a mortgage. And they're like, yeah, you sent us like a picture of SpongeBob?
Oh, what?
We need like your bank statements and like the last 20 years of your breathing record. And I'm like, I don't think I have that. And they're like, well, then you're not in the market for a house. Like, what? I think I am. Name collection. Like, that's not going to cut it.
Oh man.
Well, and like that, I'm getting help from my mom with the down payment because my great aunt passed and they sold her house. And so I talked to my mom today and she's like, yeah, let me get started on wiring that money over to you. And I talked to my banker like 20 minutes later and he's like, do not have your mom wire that money to you. And I'm like, what? Why? And he's like, if the money that you're using for the down payment has been wired to you, then we need the bank account information of the person that it came from. But if they just pay it to the term loan agency, then they don't need any of that bank information. They can just receive money from anywhere.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
Right? No, and he totally said, I know it doesn't make any sense. It sounds totally crazy, but that's the way that those term loan agencies work. Is that if the money
the term loan people aren't even in the picture yet. If she's wiring you the money so that you can use it in down payment, you don't have a down payment to put anywhere yet, right?
Right.
So if she can just wire you the money and it's sitting in your account.
No, because the source of the money is a wire transfer, then they want to make sure that the source of the wire transfer is legitimate.
No, that's different. That's what I'm saying. She can wire you the money.
She can't.
Yes, she can, Tom.
She can, but then they have to log into Equifax and look up her bank account to make sure that her bank account got that money from a specific location that's legitimate. Whereas if she pays directly to the term loan, they don't care. And yes, I know, I was told several times, I'm aware that this doesn't make sense, but that's the way that Fannie and Freddie do it. It's crazy. Weird. Yeah, oh man. This Trump thing is just so crazy.
I can't figure out what's going on with this code now. I'm gonna have to manually do show notes tonight.
All right, I'm hanging up.
All right,
been fun hanging out with you.
I'm gonna get on Rocket League as soon as I can. I have to relocate my wife who has a bad back. Takes some time.
Oh no! What?
Yeah, she's got surgery next Friday.
Well, good luck with that.
Yeah, you told us about that before, haven't you?
Yeah,
pretty sure you did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Good night.
Good night.
Did you guys stop streaming?
No.
I'll stop now. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out.